Here is my review of the trades I took on the Friday, the 16th of December 2022. Spoiler alert, this was a red day. I didn't get any winning trades at all. So if you have a look at my paper trading below, that was the day before on the 15th. On the 16th, 3 trades, all losses. 2 were on NAS and 1 was on GU. So let's have a quick look at NAS first. So if you're not interested in looking at losing trades, you may as well skip this video right now. But I just find it really interesting to take the learnings from the losing trades as well as from the winning trades. It just makes more sense to me. So on NAS, I did the usual, marked up the swing low, swing high. This maybe could have gone a bit lower. Where were we? So yeah, it's probably in the right place. So I mean, the changeover between New York and Asia is about here, so it's probably the right place. Looking at the daily chart, the bias that I had in my mind was bullish, and I think the first thing that really sort of tripped me up was the fact that it dived down below the daily swing at 8 a.m. It certainly took me by surprise. I was expecting it to go higher. It could have been a liquidity grab and then go higher, but it didn't do that either. So I was kind of like, oh, I've got it wrong. It's not a bullish trend today. It's going to be a bearish trend today. So I had that already in my mindset. So put in the fib for this swing down, and I then switched over to the 3-minute time frame and placed a pending order here because there was a fair value gap in this sort of area. Now, looking at this with hindsight, it's not really going back far enough to make it worthwhile trading on. So that should have been my red flag number 1. As this progressed, I could see that this kind of looks almost like a bearish flag. So I was thinking this is going to reverse. I've picked wrong here. So I actually ended up closing the pending order here because I just didn't feel like it was going to go in my direction, which was right. So although that was not a trade that I actually ended up placing, my decision making was ultimately correct in the end. But I think the initial one was wrong, where I was going against my initial analysis of it being a bullish day. Let's see what else I did here. See where we go. So I was having a look here, and this stopped me out. So you can see I spotted a fair value gap. It was going in the direction of my daily bias. The fair value gap is really quite small. I don't think I put a fib here. Oh, I did. I put a fib here. So again, it didn't really, at this point, the fair value gap is not really part of this fib here. Maybe I changed where it was. Possibly. I mean, I'm really clutching at straws there. You'd probably want to have a look at a longer run to actually select it, because I think that if you have a look here, it would be more accurate here, but it still wouldn't have picked up the trade anyway. So anyway, that was my first losing trade. And I took this trade because of this push candle here, fair value gap on the 3-minute, spotted that. But I think my downfall was basically not paying attention to the fib. And now I was stopped out. So my thought here at the time was, oh, maybe the 3-minute is the wrong level for me. So I was having a look at other time frames, and the 5-minute seemed to be making more sense at the time. So a lot of second guessing was going on here. That, I believe, would have been a 15-minute fair value gap. I then put in the New York lunchtime, just so I was aware of what was coming up in the future. And the New York Open, there was an unusual news embargo. The news was after the New York Open. Normally it's before, but today it was afterwards. So I was expecting a lot of volatility at that point. So another reach up, put a trend line in there to see if it breaks it. It did break it. There was a fair value gap here, but I didn't take it. It's funny when you have a loss, it really does, for me, hold me back from taking the next trade. Whereas for this open, let's see, did I do a fib here? No, there's a fib later on. So if I was to do a fib here and mark up the fair value gap, is there one? No, this one here, yeah. So that would be the fair value gap. So really, I mean, that is a valid entry point just there. So that, again, could have been another trade that I could have taken. Where to put the stop loss? I mean, technically the rules say it needs to go there. But it's just way too big. So I think maybe there, maybe halfway down the next one, whatever. It doesn't make any difference anyway because I didn't take the trade. But if I did give it there and take it up to the previous high, that's still 2.5. So that would have been a good trade. But didn't take it. So get rid of those. Let's forward on a little bit. So it's now tapped the previous daily low that I had marked up. Yeah. So I normally set alerts for these lows and highs so I can be aware of any significant movements that it's making. And let's see, what did I do here? So I've got my fib. Looking at this fair value gap here on the 5 minutes by the looks of it. And it doesn't do anything. So I moved the pending order. So originally it was higher. So I moved the pending order down because there was a fair value gap. So the green is the 15-minute fair value gap and the blue is the 5-minute fair value gap. So I've got two fair value gaps here, which normally means to me that it's quite a strong pulling point. But technically with the rules, it broke the low here, so that should be the area that I look in for the fair value gap, but it's a lot higher on the fib than that, so I'm not comfortable with putting my entry point anywhere here. So looks like I cancel my pending order there and placed a new order, this time going in the direction of my bias, and got stopped out. So I think that was my two losing trades for the NAS. So I think I kind of gave up on the NAS at that point. I was looking over at GU as well, so let's have a quick look at that. Yeah, so this was the only trade that I actually took on GU. My ability to hit turning points is incredibly frustrating. So it never actually hit this high. So I should have waited for it to hit the Asian high to make a decision as to whether it's going to go up or down. But I didn't do that. It did break down here, but I wasn't going to enter it because there was news for GBP, and it really didn't do very much. There was an entry point here, which I did not take. And this was the first really strong entry point that I also could have taken, but I didn't. And again, another one here. I did actually place a pending order to capture it, but it didn't trigger. So I missed out on that one. So that would have been a winning trade, but it didn't tap in, or I was too late. Yeah, I was too late here. So if you have a look, that would have been the fair value gap. That would have been a winning trade, but I'd missed it. I was probably doing something else, came back, placed the pending order. It didn't tap into it again. So that would have been a winning one, but I didn't hit it. So again, looking at the fib, there was a fair value gap here, around about the same place as the middle of the fib. Placed the pending order, got stopped out. And that was the only trade that I did on GU at the time. So, I mean, reviewing it, I probably didn't appreciate that there were a couple of points that I could have entered but didn't. And that would have obviously mitigated the losses that I had quite significantly. But I have had about 4 or 5 winning days in a row. So I was kind of expecting a losing day coming up. Fridays can often be a bit of a difficult day. And the news times were really odd. They were just in really funny places today. So I hope this helped, even though I didn't win anything today. It's certainly helping me, so I hope it's helping you. See you on Monday.